You need to work on your foreign language grammar, but the normal grammar drills just aren't cutting it for you. My name is Jamie, I'm a language coach. Let's talk about how to learn grammar without drills so that you actually want to accomplish your language learning goals. So the things that I'm going to talk about in this video are taken directly from phase 2 of the method, an entire lesson where we're talking about grammar, how to study it, and how to choose the right language learning resources for your language learning. And then we'll end with a really important mindset shift that will change everything that you learn in this video. So the first way to learn grammar without drills is clauses. Clauses are just a fancy way of saying fill in the blank sentences. You can use clauses for all sorts of things, whether it's conjugations, whether it's certain vocabulary words, whether it's differentiating between different words that may be used in certain contexts but not other contexts. Really, the sky's the limit. But I love clauses because not only are they a lot less boring than grammar drills, but it's also really conducive to learning grammar rules and grammar structures in a way that you'll actually be able to use them going forward. I mean, think about it. The way that we learn grammar is generally conjugation tables where you are conjugating different verbs for you, me, he, she, it, they, us, whatever it is. Or you have like matching games and all sorts of things that treat grammar rules as if they're just grammar rules and you have to learn the grammar rules, and it's not actually part of the actual language. You have to just learn the rules, and I swear it'll work. When it doesn't. With a strategy like using clauses, you are given a sentence and you are able to see how that specific grammar rule interacts with a sample of the language. This also makes use of the grammar a lot more natural because instead of having to specifically define exactly why a certain conjugation or a certain word or whatever it is used in a certain context, you kind of just get like a feel for it and it becomes a lot more natural. Because something that a lot of us get wrong about learning languages is thinking that we have to have a very precise, easily stated understanding of grammar rules and vocabulary words and all that stuff, when in reality, that's not how language works. Think about it. In your native language, you can't really explain why we use certain conjugations or grammar rules. We just kind of inherently know. So if you want to learn your target language in a way that just kind of feels intuitive and obvious and you don't have to think about it, it just kind of comes out, then clauses are an excellent option because it basically shows your brain when to use different rules without your brain having to think about it. It's just like switching from learning vocabulary with translating to learning vocabulary within any other context where you kind of just understand the word because of the content around it as opposed to having to memorize the specific translation. Clauses make a much more natural, much more engaging and interesting way to learn grammar without drills because you can come up with any sentence, any content, any subject that you could possibly want, which makes it interesting for anybody. So how do you use clauses to learn grammar? Honestly, any kind of fill-in-the-blank activity works fine for this, but I would also recommend CloseMaster or Linguist for clauses in particular. And as always, if you want to learn more about these resources, link below in the description for my reviews. I would say CloseMaster is a lot better with grammar and Linguist is a little bit better with vocabulary because Linguist is primarily a vocabulary-led platform, but they're both really excellent clauses and I love to use them to beef up on my practice or learn new things. The second way to learn grammar without drills is immersion. And by immersion, I don't mean going into a foreign country, throwing yourself into life and conversations and hoping for the best. Because in this day and age, there is more than one way to achieve immersion. Thanks to the internet, it's really easy to immerse yourself in almost any language right from your phone or computer. Now, immersion is a really great way to learn grammar without drills because you are able to experience grammar actively being used in appropriate ways. So again, just like with clauses, you get more of an intuitive feel of how that grammar is supposed to work and the rules that apply to it without having to know exactly what the rules are and exactly what the exceptions are and all that jazz. You just kind of figure it out. It's what's called implicit learning. By nature, our brains try to make sense of the world around us, so if you consistently immerse yourself in the language, you will eventually pick up the grammar without drills. It may be helpful to find explanations of grammar rules just to get you started, but I really suggest focusing most of your time on things like clauses or immersion and things that will teach you how to use the grammar rules effectively and intuitively. And naturally. Honestly, immersion is known as like the most natural way to learn languages because it's true. So if you want to learn grammar with immersion, 2 recommendations I have for you are Language Reactor and Link. Language Reactor you can use for most videos on Netflix and YouTube to get the subtitles and learn how to connect the dots by listening and reading the subtitles while you're watching whatever video you're watching. Link is a book. Almost. It does support a ton of different types of content, but it's generally like you're reading an audiobook and you're picking and choosing the words. And like Linguist, Link is more focused on vocabulary, but you can definitely use it for grammar as well, just to naturally, intuitively pick up the grammar as you go. Because these strategies are inherently intuitive, you can be learning other things like vocab and get a little bit, like 2% more experience every single time you see that conjugation or whatever grammar structure you're looking at. So even if you're not actively focused on the grammar with whatever you're studying at any given time, if you are around the grammar, your brain will pick it up. You might not realize it, but your brain is doing its thing where it's connecting information for you to use later. So that means, yes, you can technically learn grammar while you're learning other things like vocab. And if your goal is to really improve upon your grammar, you can do that while also focusing on other things. So don't worry about learning vocab as being a waste of time for your grammar. Everything is connected, so any exposure you have to your target language will help you to learn it. The next way to learn grammar without the drills is like videos right here on YouTube. There are a ton of different creators here on YouTube that post videos specifically about the different structures that you're trying to learn. So you can learn in different ways from different people who have different perspectives, and you can really drill it into your brain by just getting all these different angles of the same concept. Because you never know which teacher you're really gonna resonate with and you're really gonna understand. And bonus, if you find a language teacher on YouTube that you really enjoy their explanations and it really makes sense to you, a lot of them also have full online courses that will really jumpstart your grammar using the strategies, using the approaches that they're teaching on YouTube. So once you find somebody who you really resonate with, grab their online course because you'll definitely love how they teach the whole language. This is exactly how I came across German with Laura, which if you are a German language learner and the grammar just doesn't make any sense to you whatsoever, I really highly recommend Laura's German Foundations. Again, link below in the description. She makes German grammar just kind of intuitive, like I've been saying this whole video. And if you've ever tried to learn German grammar by yourself, you know that is not an easy feat. Now, my final tip for learning grammar without drills is not so much a resource, but a mindset. And this is important because you can learn and practice grammar all you want, but without the right mindset, you're only gonna get so far. And with this next point, you're definitely gonna understand why the first lesson of my full course, The Method, is on mindset. And that last tip is to make mistakes. This might seem counterintuitive, but hear me out. So many language learners are terrified of making mistakes, and it makes sense. Generally, mistakes are like a bad thing. At the very best, you'll be ignored and you'll just hope that nobody's thinking about it. And at the very worst, you'll get made fun of or insulted or embarrassed for making the mistakes. So we tend to internalize that whenever we make a mistake, it's a bad thing. We did something wrong, so why bother trying, right? But the thing is, if you never try, you will never learn the language. Every strategy, every resource that I've mentioned so far in this video is only going to be effective if you are allowing yourself to potentially say something wrong, do something wrong, make a mistake. Now, if this is something that you really truly struggle with, like I used to struggle with in the past, I do have a mini course for you, Mastering Mistakes, link below in the description. With Mastering Mistakes, I help you to understand why exactly you're afraid of making mistakes and what to do about it so that you can confidently throw yourself into language without being so hyper-focused and concerned and scared of saying something wrong. Because the worst thing that you could do when it comes to learning a language is not try at all. Even if your strategy is less than effective and you're bored, it's better than nothing. So click the link below to learn more about getting lifetime access to Mastering Mistakes. And that's all I have for this video. If you found it valuable, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new one every single Wednesday. If you want to learn more about any of the resources mentioned in this video, including Mastering Mistakes, click the link below in the description to learn more about them. See you there.